Yes, fight fans, body and mind, sports, my people. You are fully appreciated in this round, my guys, my people. Everybody's still talking about it. Fabio Woodley versus Daniel Dubois. That fight was something special for me. Definitely one of the best boxing spectacles that I've ever seen in in my history of watching boxing. Crazy. It's definitely up there. How high up? I don't know. There's just been too many great fights in the history of the sport. But since everybody's comparing it to the Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder trilogy, I would say give me Dubois and Wardley any day of the week, hands down. What they gave us this past Saturday was something truly special, absolutely special. Just the pure heart, the blood and guts, the determination not to want to give in to one another. That just created something special and just thoroughly entertaining. Even the brutality, that's what we wanted, the absolute brutality. But that went too far, isn't it? That went too far because of the damage that Fabio sustained along with the punishment for so many rounds, from round 5 up until the 11th round, when the fight was stopped by Howard Foster. He had sustained too much damage. He had a gash in the middle of his nose, an eye that was completely closed and started closing from round 5. It was crazy. It was crazy. Everybody had enough, and they were calling for the fight to be stopped. They were calling for the fight to be stopped by round 8 or round 9. So this amazing spectacle that we were all witnessing, is now undergoing heavy criticism from everybody. Darren Barker, who was on comms, he said the man has a family. It's time to call this one off. The man has a family. Carl Frampton, also on comms, said the fight should have been stopped before the 10th round. But yet the fight wasn't stopped. Even though Howard Foster did attempt to stop the fight, or at least wanted to stop the fight. And we know this because he pulled Fabio to the ringside doctor to get a second opinion on his state, how he is. Can he continue fighting? All right? And the doctor messed up. It's like he couldn't see what we could see. It's like he paid no mind to the calls for the fight to be stopped. Crazy. He just threw Fabio back in there. No one could believe it. Nobody could believe it. So who's to blame here? Because everybody involved in the fight have a duty to protect the fighters, I should think, right? Especially the referee, the ringside doctor, Fabio's team, so his corner, right? You can portion blame to everybody, of course, but when the conversation really thickens, the one people who are there solely to protect Fabio Wardley and look after him and his affairs is his corner. That's what they're paid to do. That's what they're there for. So I would say Ben Davidson, trainer that he is, he messed up on this one for not calling the fight and throwing in the towel. Yeah, he definitely messed up, because where the referee fails, where the ringside doctor fails, the corner has to represent, and they didn't represent. They didn't represent. Even Frank Warren said, Frank Warren, who initially was full of praises for the fight, saying this is the best show that he has ever put on, later on said he thought the fight should have stopped earlier than the 11th round. It should have stopped earlier than the 11th round. But he thinks that Team Fabio, they were banking on the fact that Fabio could possibly pull another one out the bag like he did against Justice Hooney and Parker, 2 fights where he was behind him and ended up stopping them. But even Frank noticed that in the Dubois fight, Fabio had sustained way more punishment and damage than in those fights, the Hooney and the Parker fight. So there was no sense for this to continue. No sense for this to continue at all. Yeah, he had something to say. He had something to say about it all. As he continued, he said this, quote, having said that, you know Ben and the team are seasoned trainers and cornermen. They feel they know what they are doing. But me, I would have pulled my man out. End quotation. That is Frank Warren, promoter of Queensbury Promotions, the man who put on this event, and showing everybody that he could make things happen without the finances of Turkey Al Sheikh and the Saudis. But according to his statement, that last statement there, he's criticizing Ben Davidson's professionalism and his experience, if you ask me. Because he's saying they are acting like they know what they're doing, but it's like they don't, because he's saying if it was him, he would have pulled out Fabio Wardley. He would have pulled him out. He's saying that. So this sort of sends me back to remembering what they've written of Ben Davidson's history as a trainer. Well, you will find that before Tyson Fury, he had not trained nobody. Fury was his first, was the first man he trained professionally. So he got thrown right in the deep end to train a world level fighter, an elite level fighter, in his very first training experience, I should say. And before that, the only thing you have of Ben Davidson is that he was an amateur boxer that really went nowhere with it. And him and Fury getting together, it was at a time when Fury was in a very, very dark place after the Klitschko fight, and he had taken a 3-year hiatus with personal problems, just burdened with problems, and had bloated up more than 300 pounds. He needed somebody to believe in him and get him out of that, so that he could go into the the Deontay Wilder fight. All right, but he had to go to Davidson. Who was going to take on the burden? Nobody. So him and Davidson were two people that needed one another. And Davidson did well to get him to draw in the Deontay Wilder fight and to lose the weight. But in Fury's next fight under Davidson against Otto Wallin, he went to grueling hell with that fight. Nearly lost the fight, and it was supposed to be somewhat of a run out, right? Got a huge gash on his face, above his eyelids, and almost lost the fight. Almost lost the fight under Davidson. Do you know what Tyson Fury did? He got rid of Davidson. He said he needed a change. He needed to go back to basics, he said. So who knows? Fabio may want to go back to basics as well, because he needs the basics. He needs the fundamentals, which he clearly doesn't have. He doesn't have a consistent jab. His footwork is not that well educated. The type of stance he has is going, and his fighting style as well, is going to need some lateral movement, which he doesn't do enough of. He doesn't really set up his punches very well, or should I say his shots very well, his opportunities. So there's a lot of things for him to do, in terms of basic fundamentals. His defense for sure needs to be fixed. And I'm wondering, Ben Davidson at age 34, 33, very young trainer at an elite level, with no real background of being a trainer since Fury, and he got with Fury in 2017. So not that long as a trainer. Not that. It's not even 10 years. It's not even 10 years. So somebody like Don Charles got way more experience than him, and hasn't got the type of stable that Davidson has. So he's lucky to be somehow where he is. Is he the type of person to be training Fabio? I'm thinking, is something that Fabio's team are gonna think about. Maybe something that Itauma's team might think about too, because of what happened. Let's remember that Fabio was a slight favorite to beat Daniel Dubois. My guys, my people. Anyway, in his own defense, Ben Davidson, he also admitted that, the fight should have been stopped earlier, but that only pulls him into further scrutiny. Why didn't he stop the fight earlier then? Well, he says he thought about it, but in 2 of the rounds where he thought about it, the round was closing, so the bell rung and they had no chance to do anything. And he said furthermore, when Fabio got back to his corner, it looked like he had his legs underneath him, and in the fight, he was chucking back. He was chucking back quite quite a bit, right? And yeah, they thought he was looking quite dangerous in there, I guess. So they threw him back in there. They said they couldn't just pull him out on a whim. The man is bleeding. He has no legs, no energy, no power. That is not a whim. It is time to pull him out. But I think, like Frank thought, they were banking on his power, weren't they? They were banking on the fact that he dropped Daniel Dubois in the first and the third round, weren't they? They thought he could pull it out the hat again. But listen, this is not magic. Boxing is not magic. It's not just about your power and your heart and your will to fight. You're gonna have to get them skills. You're gonna have to get them skills, those fundamentals tightened up. So at this elite level, world level, Fabio won't be able to swim for long, and Daniel Dubois may just be the start of his of more losses to come. Could just be the start, So yeah, they may think about whether they come back with Ben Davidson or not. They may have to think about that. Ben Davidson, who also said in his defense that people were full of praises for him for not throwing the towel in the Fury Deontay fight, the first one, which ended in a draw, right? Which was good because Fury was able to get off the canvas when he got knocked down, and it ended in a draw. Otherwise, Wilder would have won in that 12th and last round. Davidson also said that he was praised for not throwing the towel in Wood versus Conlon. He said initially he was hated for throwing the towel in Wood versus Mauricio Lara, but then later on he was praised. But what he is missing out is that yes, he was hated to start with because he threw the towel in when it was the closing seconds of the round. So who knows, had he allowed Wood to take the punishment that he was under, maybe he could have made that round and started stronger in the next round. Who knows? He wasn't given that opportunity, so that is where the hate came from, right? But later on, the method behind what we thought was madness was realized because Wood was kept fresher because he didn't have to go through the punishment in the first fight. So in the rematch, he gave us a much better performance because he was able to preserve himself. He went on to knock out Lara in the rematch, right? But why didn't he do the same for Fabio then? All right? Preserve your fighter. You have a rematch, don't you? You have a rematch on the contract, and they're looking to exercise the rematch. Yet they didn't give him the opportunity to fight another day. And that is what Stan Dubois is saying. He also said that yeah, they didn't give him the opportunity to fight another day. If that was his boy, he would have pulled him out of it. He would have insisted that they pull him out of it. That is Stan Dubois, and that's the difference between Team Dubois and Team Fabio. Team Dubois, they understand that this is prize fighting, and you got to strike the balance between what the fans want and what is entertaining, and you know, the balance between that and your health, plus the opportunity, plus giving yourself longevity in your career. There are more opportunities, more fights. Save yourself for that. There are more bags, more championship opportunities, right? Team Dubois understand that. However, Team Fabio haven't quite struck that note yet, and they are, it's like they want to get it all in one day. They want to do it all in one day. But you have a rematch clause. It doesn't make sense. It makes absolutely no sense. It looks like they want to exercise the rematch. AJ looked like he wanted to exercise the rematch he had with Daniel Dubois, didn't he? And he ended up skipping it, right? So maybe Fabio might skip it too. Having mentioned AJ, that's two fighters now, AJ and Fabio, that have lost to Dubois. Two of Davidson's fighters who have lost to Dubois and Don Charles. So he's losing bad to Don Charles. He's losing bad to Don Charles. But as far as the rematch goes, I think they should skip it, because it could be worse unless Fabio improves. But even then, it may not be the same fighter, because he's taking battering after battering after battering. Despite that he had won his last two previous fights, he took a battering. He took a battering, and he sustained the damage in the first Clark fight as well. That was where he first got his nose busted, isn't it? Or was it the Nathan Gorham fight? One of them anyway. You know, so yeah, he needs to rest first and foremost, and he can take it from there, I would say. But the fundamentals, he needs to get that if he wants to be swimming at world level, because it's a whole different ball game. And I agree with Don Charles also when he said that Fabio Woodley, Daniel Dubois, he is an absolute warrior, and that he has dispelled all the negative talk about his heart, not having a heart. He's dispelled that with this fight. And as for me, you're asking me? As for me, he's definitely showed us that he's got tremendous heart, Daniel Dubois. So yeah, what next for both fighters? I'm not gonna go and talk about Fabio. I've given a little bit about this in the video I made before this one, which I will put the link in the description box. For Daniel Dubois as well, I've touched on it already, so I don't really want to go there again. But one thing I would say, which is according to Frank Warren, is that Moses Itauma and Daniel Dubois, as we all want it, it's not going to happen next. Not until it's a stadium fight, and it's happening at Wembley Stadium. So it looks like they are looking to build this up to a Fury and Anthony Joshua type mega fight, which means we could be waiting for some years. We could be maybe 2 years, a year. I don't know. I'm just guessing here. But we are going to be patient on this one. We're going to have to be patient on this one. Stan Dubois did say that Daniel Dubois would want to face a British heavyweight next, or another southpaw. We know he had issues with Usyk, right? So he needs one more southpaw before he faces Itauma, who's also a southpaw. Well, there are southpaws out there. Zhile Zhang is out there. Maybe the winner of Frank Sanchez and Torres, who are fighting in the IBF final eliminator. Sanchez, is he southpaw? I don't think he's southpaw, but Torres is definitely southpaw. Maybe the winner of that fight. Maybe Fury as a British heavyweight. Right? Or maybe the winner of AJ and Fury. Him and AJ have unfinished business. Dubois and AJ. Fury, he had an opinion, didn't he, about this fight? He said, well, he was taking a dig at AJ. He said that AJ got knocked spark out by Daniel Dubois, but Dubois couldn't stop Miller. But Miller was stopped on his feet, though. He said that Dubois couldn't stop Hrgović. I would say that Hrgović, the doctor, cut the fight for him. And then he said he couldn't stop Daniel Dubois, but Howard Foster came to his aid, I would say. Right, so I agree with him. AJ is chinny. We've seen enough to say that he is chinny. But Fury, in saying that, is also sort of indirectly saying here that Daniel Dubois has no power. So why doesn't he test his chin with Daniel Dubois? Maybe even Fabio. Because I think Fury is chinny too. He's just got better recovery than AJ, because he goes on the canvas a lot. He's been on the canvas a lot, man. Even Usyk, who's not considered a puncher, nearly put him on the canvas. The ropes and the ref saved him in that instance. So he's got a lot to say. Let's see whether he can take one of AJ's punches, if he has to, when they meet up. Because listen, Ngannou floored him. Look what AJ did to Ngannou. Well, that's it for me on this one anyway. But Fury and Dubois, I think, would be an incredible fight. If AJ does it against Fury, Dubois as well would be an incredible fight for him. But I've already gone through most of this. But I'll finish by saying that Moses Itauma, though, his next opposition, everybody's still speculating. But Frank Warren says we shall find out next Tuesday. The announcement might be made. Yeah. Speculations, though, that the front runner could be Hrgović, if he should make a quick turnaround against Dave Allen this weekend, which he should, but we must not underestimate Dave Allen's domestic level abilities. He can be quite dangerous, and we've seen what Zach Chelly did to David Morrell this past weekend. Nobody expected that. I totally writ off Zach Chelly. I didn't think he would win that by any chance. David Morrell is an elite fighter. Was I wrong? Were we all wrong? Wasn't this the man that went the distance with David Benavidez? And because of what Benavidez did to Ramirez and then to Anthony Yard, it boosted the stock of Morrell, just because he went the distance, even though he lost. He dropped Benavidez in that fight. And now he's losing to Zach Chelly. Crazy stuff. His WBO mandatory position to WBO interim light heavyweight champion Callum Smith. Well, he's not going to be seeing that fight anymore. He's not going to be seeing that fight. Well done, Zach Chelly, for stopping Moreau in the 10th and final round in the dying seconds. He gets that fight now. He now holds that mandatory position. Well done, Zach Chelly. And that's all I have for you guys on this one, my guys, my people. Before you leave, do like, do share, subscribe. Of course, drop your comments below, and as always, stay super blessed, and I'll catch you on the next one.